Assalamu alaikum students. Today we'll take up one more important topic, that is the respiratory system. Okay. So if you see the respiratory system, it is divided into two zones. One is called as the respiratory zone and the second one is called as the conducting zone. Two important parts. As you know, the respiratory system is the system which helps in the respiration and exchange of gases, that is intake of the oxygen and the release of the carbon dioxide. For this, it needs two important parts. One is the respiratory zone and the conducting zone. Conducting zone conducts or transport the air from the oral cavity or the mouth or from the respiratory passage, that is the nostrils, all the way up to the lungs. That is called as the conducting zone or the conducting system or the transport part. Okay, the transport the air from the nasal cavity up to the lungs. So what are those? One is the nose itself, then we have the nasal cavity, then we have the pharynx and the trachea. Okay, so these are the conducting zone. They are conducting. Then respiratory zone, that is the site of gaseous exchange. So where the actual gas exchange between the blood and the air in the lungs taking place, that part will be called as the respiratory zone, where the exchange of gases will be taking place. This consists of the bronchioles, then we have the alveolar ducts and the alveoli. Bronchioles, alveolar ducts, and the alveoli. These are the bronchioles where it starts. Actually, trachea divides into primary, secondary, and tertiary bronchus or the bronchi. Bronchus is one, bronchi are plural. Okay. So in the tertiary bronchiole, then we have the terminal bronchiole, then it changes smaller, becomes smaller and smaller, and then it is called as a respiratory bronchiole, where the respiration actually starts. That part will be called as a respiratory bronchioles. Then it goes to alveolar duct, and the main actual respiration will be taking place in the alveoli. And this respiration is helped by the respiratory muscles. The main respiratory muscle is the diaphragm. It is the main respiratory muscle along with other respiratory muscles, that is the which are present in the thoracic region, thoracic cage, that is the external oblique, the external intercostal, internal intercostal, and the innermost intercostal, all those. Okay. So now if you see this, so here is the uh, so this is the nose. Here we have the nasal cavity. These are the nostrils where the actual respiration will begin. Then we have the nasal cavity. This is nasal cavity. It goes from the pharynx. Then it goes to the larynx and the air enters the trachea. Then it divides into the primary bronchus, so or the bronchi, so right and left, then they become divide into secondary and then the tertiary, then they go enter the lungs and then they divide into the alveolar sacs and the alveoli. Now coming to the major functions of the respiratory system. So what are the main functions of the respiratory system? The main respiratory function will be providing the body with the oxygenated blood, the oxygen, which is important, and it is absorbed through the blood, and then it is called oxygenated blood. And also, it eliminates the carbon dioxide. So this is the main function of the respiratory system. One is providing the oxygen for the body and the cells, and removal of the waste material, that is the carbon dioxide. Along with that, it also helps in olfaction. Olfaction means the sensation of smell, that is called as olfaction, sensation of smell. Okay, then we have the homeostatic regulation of the pH through the regulation of the carbon dioxide. So a small quantity of carbon dioxide is regularly necessary for the homeostatic regulation of the pH. To maintain the pH, the carbon dioxide regulation is very important. So carbon dioxide is not totally eliminated, but small quantity of carbon dioxide must be there for the regulation of the pH. So it is always present. Then the the nose and the nostrils, as well as even the pharynx, and the main structure is the larynx. All this also helps in the phonation. Right now I am speaking, that is called as phonation. So speaking and production of sound, that is called as phonation. So not only respiratory system help in the exchange of the oxygen and carbon dioxide, but also helps in the olfaction, that is the sensation of smell, then for speaking, phonation, then regulation of the pH by the regulation of the carbon dioxide itself. So these are some of the functions of the respiratory system. Now coming to the nose. Okay, so nose has many parts. Okay, so we have, it is made up of, the nose is made up of the bone as well as the cartilages. So on the top, if you see here, these are called as the nasal bones on either side. But below, this is slightly stretchable because of there is cartilage, so it is slightly mobile. So there is a cartilage in the center called as the septal cartilage. Then we have the lateral cartilages on either side. In the center, we have the septal cartilage. Then on either side, we have the lateral cartilages. Okay. Then we also have in the front the greater alar cartilage. Then there are smaller cartilages here. These are called lesser alar cartilages. Okay. Along with that, the maxillary bone also provides, especially the frontal process of it, will provide a wall for the nasal cavity. So all these cartilages as well as the bones behind all help in the formation of the structure of nose. Once we go into the cavity, so this is how it looks like. Okay, so there are it is not smooth, but there are bridges here. Okay, so there are bridges within that, and we'll talk about that. Okay, so the nose is formed of external nose and the nasal cavity. It is divided into two halves, right and left, separated by the nasal septum. What you are seeing here, it will, at the center should be nasal septum. It is the lateral wall shown. Okay, so the nasal septum will be at the center as we saw in the previous picture. So if you see here, so here will be the nasal septum formed by the septal cartilage. Okay, so it is divided into two halves, right and the left half, by the nasal septum. In the nasal cavity, there are three bony projections from the lateral wall called as the concha or the concave. One is concha, and more than one will be called as concave. Superior, middle, as well as inferior. Now, if you see here, so these are called as concave. Superior, middle, and inferior concave. So it is not smooth, but there are bony projections here. These are called as superior, middle, as well as the inferior concave. Okay, nose opens anteriorly at the nostrils and posterior to the pharynx. As you can see here, anteriorly, these are called as nostrils where it opens, and posteriorly it opens into the pharynx. This is whole thing is called as the pharynx here. So here will be the connection between the nose and the pharynx. Okay, so here there is a isthmus opening called as the nasopharyngeal isthmus between the nose and the pharynx. Now, nasal cavity is divided by a midline structure called as the nasal septum, which divides it into two halves, right and left, opens posteriorly into the nasopharynx. As I showed you here, the pharynx is divided into three parts, the pharynx, this whole thing. So this is called as the nasopharynx, this is called as oropharynx, and this is called as the laryngopharynx. This pink colored structure is called as nasopharynx, which is behind the nose, that is called as oropharynx. Behind this is the larynx. Behind that, this is called as the laryngopharynx. So this is behind the nose, so this is called as the nasopharynx. So it opens into the nasopharynx. Posteriorly, it opens into the nasopharynx. The roof is formed by the ethmoid and the sphenoid bones, which are the base of the skull, form the by the ethmoid and the sphenoid bone form the roof. Okay, and the floor is formed by the hard and soft palate. As you can see here again, going back to this picture. So this is the hard and the soft palate. This is the hard palate, bony palate, and this is the soft palate made up of muscle. Similarly, here this is the roof. Okay, roof. So behind, if you see here, this is the ethmoidal air sinus. Ethmoidal. So this is the ethmoid bone, and this is the ethmoidal air sinus. So the roof is formed by the sphenoidal as well as ethmoidal bones, and the floor is formed by the hard and the soft palate. And there are hair in the nose which will help with the filtering of the inspired air. So what is the function of air? They will filter the inspired air. Now coming to the concave, the bony projections, we saw there are three concave, superior, middle as well as inferior concave. They protrude medially from the lateral wall. They are present from the lateral wall. Increase, what is the function of this concave? They increase the mucosal area. So mucosal area, why to increase the mucosal area? So that the air, which is dry air, when you inspire, it is added with moisture by this mucosal area. So that the air can be cooled down and it enters the lungs and it doesn't damage the lungs. So that's why it has to increase the mucosal area. So this is done by the superior, middle as well as inferior concave. Assist in air evaporation and moistening. So it also helps in the air evaporation as well as I said, the moistening of the air. Each concave has its opening below it called as the meatus. The space below the concave, that is called as the meatus. So you can see a superior, middle, and inferior concave. Just below each of these concave, there is space. This is called as the meatus space. Just below this concave, there are spaces. These are called a superior, middle, as well as inferior meatus. So if you see the pharynx, now coming to the pharynx, this is the pharynx here, where the air will enter the nostrils, nasal cavity. Now it enters the pharynx. So it is funnel-shaped tube of skeletal muscle divided into three regions. So it is nothing, it is funnel shape. As you can see here, upper end is broader. As it comes below, it becomes narrow and narrow. So it is funnel shape tube of skeletal muscle. Around that, there are skeletal muscle everywhere. Okay, around that. So it is the funnel shaped tube of skeletal muscle divided into three regions. As you can see here, the upper part, this is called as the nasopharynx, lies posterior to the nasal cavity. Is the nasal cavity. Behind that, this is the nasopharynx. Behind the oropharynx, this behind the oral cavity lies posterior to the oral cavity from the level of soft palate to the epiglottis. That is called as the oropharynx. This is the oropharynx from the epiglottis. So here is the epiglottis to the soft palate. So this is the soft palate to the epiglottis. This whole region behind the oral cavity, that is called as the oropharynx. Then laryngopharynx lies posterior to the larynx. Larynx is here. Behind that, this blue colored structure, that is called as the laryngopharynx. So it is divided into the nasopharynx, oropharynx, and the laryngopharynx. Larynx, as we saw here, so this is the larynx. Okay. So if you see here, this is the larynx. So this is also called as the voice box. Voice box. Why it is called as voice box? So this is the site from where the voice is produced. Right now I'm speaking because the air is helping the larynx to produce voice. Okay. So this is that's why it is called as the voice box, larynx. It is continuous with the pharynx posteriorly, as you have seen. So it is a continuation of the pharynx. Here is pharynx, this whole thing. Now it continues into the larynx. The air will enter from here. So what are the functions of the larynx? Okay, once we have seen, the first main function will be it will produce the sound or voice box. Second, it provides a patent airway. So regularly the air can enter and come out. So it provides a path for the airway. The third is it acts as a switching mechanism to route air and food into the proper channels. So this larynx with the help of the epiglottis. So whenever the food will come, so this epiglottis will close like this and the food will enter the esophagus. Esophagus is here, larynx is here. So when the food comes, this is the epiglottis will close this larynx and the food will enter the esophagus. And when it is open, the air will be entering continuously. Okay, so this larynx will be directing the switching the mechanism to route the air or food into the proper channels. Now coming to the framework of the larynx, framework, how it is made up of, what are the cartilages which are forming the larynx. Okay, so the larynx is made up of cartilages. Okay, so these are hyaline cartilages like the thyroid cartilage with a midline laryngeal prominence. Let me show you. Okay, so this is called as the thyroid cartilage with a midline prominence. This is called as laryngeal prominence, or it is also called as the Adam's apple. Adam's apple in the front. So if you see here, this is the thyroid cartilage. So this bony, this cartilage projection in the center, this is called as the laryngeal prominence, and this is more prominent in males compared to the females, and it is more prominent in case of the thin and in the male. Okay, so this is called as the laryngeal prominence, or it is also called as the Adam's apple. Adam's apple. So the thyroid cartilage with a midline laryngeal prominence, that is called as the Adam's apple. Then we also have the cricoid cartilage. Cricoid cartilage just below it. So this is called as the cricoid. This is the thyroid cartilage, and below that this is the cricoid cartilage. This is the side view of the same. This is the thyroid cartilage. This is the cricoid cartilage. Okay. Then there are three pairs of small cartilages. There are small cartilages from behind. If you see here, one is called as the arytenoid, then corniculate, and then there is cuneiform. All these are small cartilages: arytenoid, corniculate, and cuneiform cartilages, which are paired cartilages. Okay, pair means on either side, right and left. Then we also have the epiglottis. Epiglottis. So I showed you, this is the epiglottis here. So from the front, you can see here, this is the epiglottis, and from, if you cut it, then you can see the whole production. This is the epiglottis, which will close and open the larynx. Close and open the larynx. That is the function of the epiglottis. So it is an elastic cartilage that covers the laryngeal inlet during swallowing. So as I said, epiglottis will close during swallowing. Whenever the food enters, so this epiglottis will close the larynx and food will enter behind. Okay. Acts as a switching mechanism to direct air and food into the proper channels, as I showed before. So it will be directing the food. And so if you see through the larynx from here, if you put a laryngoscopy, this is how it looks like. Larynx close here, and here it is open, and here is the epiglottis. This is the tongue. So if you put the laryngoscopy and see, this is how it looks like. Now coming to the trachea. So here is the thyroid cartilage and cricoid cartilage of the larynx. This is the larynx. So then below that is the trachea. It continues as the trachea. So it is a flexible and mobile tube extending from the larynx into the mediastinum, where it divides into two main bronchi at the level of T4. So it is continuation of the larynx. The trachea is the continuation of the larynx, and it goes up to the level of T4, and then it divides into two primary bronchi, right and left, at the level of T4. So if you see here, it consists of C-shaped cartilaginous rings, and posteriorly it is covered by trachealis muscle. If you see here, these are the cartilaginous rings. These are also called as tracheal rings or cartilaginous rings. So if you see from behind, this is the picture seen from behind. So these are C-shaped, just C-shaped. They're not round, but C-shaped, and behind it is deficient, and this is covered by a muscle called as the trachealis muscle. Trachealis muscle. It divides into principal bronchi, which divides into segmental bronchi and bronchioles. So it divides into two primary bronchi, then it divides into the segmental bronchi, secondary bronchi, and the tertiary bronchi. Now coming to the respiratory zone. So as we saw, this trachea will divide and divide, primary, then into secondary, into tertiary, and then begins the respiratory zone. Till now, this was all from the nasal cavity up to the trachea. It was the conducting zone. Now begins the respiratory zone. So begins as the terminal bronchioles and divides into respiratory bronchioles. So respiration begin here. So it starts from the respiratory bronchioles. Then the respiratory bronchioles lead to the alveolar ducts and then to terminal cluster of alveolar sacs composed of the alveoli. You see here, this is how it divides into secondary. This is the primary bronchi, these are the secondary, and these are the tertiary bronchi. Now this tertiary bronchi divides multiple times into terminal bronchiole. Then if you see here, this is called as a respiratory bronchiole because these are the alveoli. Few alveoli starts here. The main content will be here, but here they will few start. So that's what is called as respiratory bronchiole. Then they continue as the alveolar ducts. Then we have the alveolar sacs. This whole thing is called an alveolar sac. And these structures where the actual respiration takes place is called as the alveoli. One is alveolus. When more than one, then it's called as alveoli. These are the alveoli. Okay, so approximately 300 million alveoli are present in each of the, including both the lungs actually, in each human being. Okay, there are 300 million alveoli. Okay, so the alveolus, one is called as alveolus, as I said, is the functional and structural unit of the lung. So the main functional or the structural unit of the lung is the alveolus, and these are around 300 million in both the lungs in each human being. Okay, so these are the alveoli, small sac where the actual respiration takes place. So here, this is the picture showing you the lungs. Okay, so this is the right lung, this is the left lung. Okay, from outside, and this is the inner view, medial view. Now coming to some details about the lung itself. So the lung consists of an apex, a base, and a hilum. If you see here, so this it looks like a pyramid, right? So this is called as the apex of the lung, and the lowermost part, this is called as the base of the lung. This is the apex and the base. And this region where the structures will enter from the medial side, all the structures enter, that is called as the hilum or the hilus. Okay, it is also called as the root of the lung. Root of the lung, the hilum of the lung. Okay. So the apex, as you have seen on the top, narrow superior tip of the lung. Then the base is formed by the inferior surface, thus that rests on the diaphragm. Then the hilum, site of entrance of the pulmonary and systemic blood vessels. Systemic blood vessels. So this is the apex here, and this is the base, and this is the hilum. Okay. So hilum is the site of entrance of the pulmonary and systemic blood vessels, nerves, as well as even the bronchi. How to differentiate between the right and the left lung? The left lung separated into upper and lower lobes by oblique fissure. So there are only two lobes in the left lung, and the superior and inferior lobe are separated by a oblique fissure. This is called as the oblique fissure. Superior lobe and inferior lobe separated by the oblique fissure. But check out the right lung, it is separated into three lobes. Left lung is having only two lobes, but the right lung has three lobes separated by the oblique and horizontal fissure. So it has two fissures. So it is the right lung here. So it is divided into superior, middle, as well as inferior lobe by two fissures. One is the oblique fissure, just like here, oblique fissure. Here also there is oblique fissure. But in addition, there is one more fissure called as the horizontal fissure because it is more horizontally placed. So this is called as the horizontal fissure. So the right lung has two fissures, left lung has only one fissure. The right lung has three lobes, the left lung has only two lobes. Okay. Then these lungs are further divided into 10 segments each. Each lung is further divided into small regions here, pyramidal shape regions called as the bronchopulmonary segments. Bronchopulmonary segments. Now coming to the blood supply of the lung. Blood supply of the lung. It is supplied by four arteries and veins. Okay, two arteries and two veins. So here, if you see here, the bronchial artery provides systemic blood to the lungs for the main lungs. The blood supply is provided by the for the lung is by the bronchial arteries, and the bronchial veins carry out the venous blood of the lung. But apart from that, there are also two arteries, one artery and one vein. One is called as pulmonary artery and pulmonary vein. So pulmonary artery, if you see here, artery, this is called an artery. Artery are usually shown in red and the veins are usually shown in blue. But here, this is the only region where the artery will be carrying deoxygenated blood, provides deoxygenated, impure blood. Usually, it is the artery which will provide the oxygenated blood or pure blood, and the veins will be carrying the impure blood or the deoxygenated blood. But here, in case of the pulmonary arteries and veins, it is reverse. So the pulmonary arteries are bringing the deoxygenated blood from the heart to the lungs for the purification, for the exchange of gases. So these are called as the pulmonary arteries, and they carry deoxygenated blood. This is the only region where the artery carries the deoxygenated blood. Then we have the pulmonary veins, which carry most of the oxygenated blood back into the heart. Even though it is called a vein, but it is carrying the oxygenated blood from the lungs back into the heart. Okay, so that's what is called a vein, because the blood is going to the heart. Whatever vessels carry the blood to the heart, they are called as veins. Whatever blood start from the artery, from the heart, they are called as arteries. So here, because the blood is going back to the heart, so it is called as pulmonary vein, and they will be carrying the oxygenated blood. Now coming to something called as pleura. Lungs are covered by a structure called as pleura, a double layered thin serous membrane which is covering the whole of the lung except near the hilum or the root of the lung. Everywhere this pleura is covering. This is nothing but a thin double layered serous membrane which consists of two layers. The outer layer is called as parietal pleura and the inner layer is called as the visceral pleura. If you see here, so this is the lung and it is covered by two, this is the lung here and it is covered by two pleuras here. So outside we have the parietal pleura. This is the view. This is the same view shown here in large. So this is the parietal pleura, and inner we have the visceral pleura. And there is a space between the two layers that is called as pleural cavity and filled with small quantity of serous fluid. So the outer layer is parietal pleura and the inner layer is called as visceral pleura. Covers the external lung surface. Pleural cavity is the space between the visceral and the parietal pleura. It contains small quantity of the serous fluid. As I said, there is a small space between these two layers that is called as pleural cavity filled with the serous fluid. Now coming to the respiratory muscles. Which are the muscles which help in the respiration? The lungs cannot operate on their own, but they need muscles from outside which can help in the respiration, which will help in the expansion of the lungs and creation of a negative pressure so that the air can be sucked into the lungs. So this is done by a muscle called as diaphragm. Okay, so this will help in almost 70% of the respiration. Okay, done by the diaphragm, mainly inspiration. So it helps in the inspiration, expanding of the lung by the diaphragm moves downwards. If you see here, here is the diaphragm. So whenever the diaphragm moves down, it will pull the lung down and it helps in the air to be sucked from the nasal cavity into the lungs. Okay, so this is called an inspiration. During expiration, the diaphragm will recoil back and the lungs will recoil back and push the air outside. Okay, so the diaphragm mainly helps in inspiration. Almost 70% of the respiration is done by the diaphragm. Then the remaining percentage is done by the external intercostal as well as the internal intercostal. External intercostal has been inspiration and internal intercostal has been the expiration. So these muscles are here, external intercostal, and if you remove this external intercostal, then you can see the internal intercostal. So there are two layers, actually there are three layers: external intercostal, then the internal intercostal, then inside we have the innermost intercostal muscles. Okay. So this is all about the respiratory system as well as the lungs. Okay. So if you have any doubts regarding any of this part, you can just ask me and I will try to answer. Any doubts? So you don't have any doubts. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.